Sorry guys, I just started a live video and then canceled it and deleted it because I wanted to change the orientation of it. I had it on a vertical, so I just changed it to the landscape orientation so it'll be easier for people to watch later. So I'm just readjusting my setup here. Okay, here we go. I think everyone has these floral bowls. Okay, sorry my mat, it's not dirty, I swear, it's just stained because it's old. Okay, so I want to know who is doing, who's planning on doing like tissue transfer, who's using a projector. I'd love to know who's like, especially if you're doing it live right now. I think lots of people will be using a projector, so I'm gonna start with that. I'm gonna start. So, not letting me open. Trissa says this is not letting me open the video. Not sure totally what that means. Okay, so most people are using a projector. Okay, so I'm gonna start with that, and then once I've sort of got a little bit going, then I'm just gonna show you quick how the tissue transfer works. Yeah, so but I'll start with the projector. Just turn mine on. Okay. Okay, so you have your projector set up. You've got the image displayed on your cookie. I mean, it can be, I mean, you can, go farther out, you can zoom closer in if you don't want to have to, worry so much about the hands. Hands can be tough. I'm going to just include the fingers so you guys can see me doing it. So what I have here is if you have like a painting tray, definitely use your painting tray. I'm just using a plate because my palette has all kinds of food coloring all over it and I just didn't want to wash it. So I'm just going to move this so I know you guys can see it in the camera view. So this is what I have a glass of water for washing off my paintbrush. The little floral bowl has vodka in it just for when I need to like dampen my brush a little bit because I don't want to mix too much alcohol in with my charcoal powder, because if it's too runny, like you can just, it's just going to run all over the place and not be super like crisp lines. I'm basically just going to add like a little bit of vodka to the charcoal at a time. Alcohol evaporates really fast and charcoal like sucks up moisture incredibly fast. So you're gonna have to re-wet your charcoal quite a few times because it's just gonna dry out super fast, which is also really great for painting, because painting with charcoal, you're never gonna be left with just like these moppy wet patches because it dries so incredibly fast. So I'm gonna grab a few of my brushes here. When I turn on the projector, I don't hear anything. So the projector itself, is that what you mean? The projector that projects the image? Mine doesn't make any sound other than just like the faint buzzing sound that an electrical, piece of technology would make. You can sort of hear the motor running. But can you guys all hear me speaking? Like, I just want to make sure it's not Facebook Live. That's the problem. Okay, perfect. Okay, that's the most important part, as long as you can hear me talk. So I've got a little bit of white food color. I mean, label's kind of rubbed off here, but Chef Master White. By the way, this is the only kind of white food coloring that I use, especially for painting with. I find that pretty much all other brands, Wilton white and Americolor white, there are a lot of other ingredients in it, such as like carnauba wax and sugars and other fillers, which are totally fine if you're using it in your icings and everything. If you want to paint with it though, I definitely recommend Chef Master White. It is literally just pure titanium dioxide and glycerin. So you can paint with it and like blend it super well. The other ones, because they have these sort of filler ingredients in them, I find can get kind of gloppy. Some of you may have experienced this, and it sort of produces like this awful texture. So yeah, that's why I only use Chef Master White, because it's like the purest sort of ingredients. Yeah, so it's like super concentrated. It's really awesome quality. So my alcohol, so I'm just gonna like literally dump a bit of alcohol into my charcoal, but I'm gonna keep some in the bowl just so I can like use it to wet. Oh, what about, so Cheryl asked, what about Sugar Art Master Elite? I haven't used the Sugar Art Master Elite products yet, so I can't speak to that. But when it comes to like white, if the ingredients, like you want as few ingredients as possible in your white gel for painting, titanium dioxide is what gives it the white color, and the glycerin is just what makes it liquid. So yeah, Tammy says Hobby Lobby's is only those ingredients too, so that's perfect. Basically, you just want to look out for the fewest ingredients with the fewest fillers. You just want the white, which is the titanium dioxide, and the glycerin, which is the liquid aspect of it. So yeah, sorry, I don't know. I don't know about the Sugar Master Elite. Katie says it's powder. So if you can buy titanium dioxide just in powder form, then you can totally get that, and you can mix titanium dioxide with alcohol just like charcoal powder. But I've never come across just titanium dioxide. You may have to. Master Elite White is just, oh, it is Master Elite White. If it's just titanium dioxide, then that's also perfect. You can mix that with a little bit of alcohol, just like charcoal powder. So that would be like amazing. Yeah, definitely do that. Probably like it won't have the same sort of glossy acrylic effect that this one does, but it'll be totally easy to use and shouldn't like kind of curdle like some of the other brands do. And do food colors expire is another question that just was asked. I use mine up pretty fast, so I haven't experienced that. I have no idea if there's even a date on this because the labels, oh wait, there is a date. So December 1st, 2023. I bought this maybe like 6 months ago. So yeah, maybe 3 to 4 years I'd say, but I don't know if they'd ever go bad. I think they probably just, you know, separate and look kind of gross, like, you know, nail polish. When nail polish gets too old, it's just not the same quality anymore, but it's not like, it's not bad. It's just not really going to work as well. So anyways, I've mixed a bit of alcohol in with my charcoal powder, and I haven't actually like fully incorporated it. I'm going to leave it like this, and just sort of like take from parts of it, but I'm definitely going to still leave some of it as a powdery form, just so I can continue like to mix it and make it like the exact thickness that I want, because I want it to be like thick and inky. Like this is way too watery. This will be good if I'm just like blending shadows, but if I'm like want really nice crisp black lines, I'm gonna go with something like this. You can see it's really opaque and inky, and it's kind of like the same consistency as the white gel. So Mitch, says, Master Elite Black is equivalent to charcoal, but I'm told by Ed, the owner, it's better in true black pigment. That's really interesting. I really want to test out the Master Elite Black, because I've heard that it actually produces much more of like a blue or like a brown. One of my cookie friends said it produced like a really dark brown and she had to add a lot to it, but I totally want to test those products out to see exactly how they work and how they compare. Okay, so the way I'm going to start painting this is I'm going to outline basically all the details here. So like her hairline, the eyebrows, the lips, but I'm not going to do like anything super dark. I'm not going to fill in any shadows. And for where like you can see the shadow falls on her, you know, underneath her cheekbone, I'm kind of just going to outline that. And then we're going to fill it in and blend it later. But it's a really great start to just plot all of the details, because then you can actually continue without using a projector. And I find sometimes using a projector, if I'm trying to do like tiny details, it's a lot easier to like make a huge mistake because you can't see as well because there's like an image being projected on it, so your vision's a little bit obscured. So I like to start with like the center features of the face, so like the eyes. So I'm just gonna like outline one eyebrow. When you're starting a picture, I like to do, like I don't fill in the eye, like I'll even just do that and then come back and fill it all in later. It's really easy to layer on colors and make things darker, but if you start with something, you know, too dark from the get-go, it's really hard to lighten that area back up if it, you know, later proves to be a mistake. Oh, one of my paintbrush hairs fell out. There we go. So here you can see her jawline is right here, and I'm actually going to just outline where that shadow hits the side of her face, but I'm not going to fill it in right now. I'm going to fill it in once I remove it from my projector, so I'll have a really good view of how dark I'm actually getting it. And same with her nose here. I'm going to outline where the shadow is. And just like super, super thin line and light. The nice thing about charcoal is because charcoal itself sucks in water really fast, dries out really fast, and alcohol evaporates really quickly. It's really just gonna be sitting on top of the cookie. So later on we can go back and actually like wet our brushes more and really blend it in, and it'll look really good. The really nice thing about working with a black and white image, I mean, is because you can turn any image into black and white. Just by using your phone, you just change the color of it, and then you can increase the contrast. So the blacks become much more black, and whites become much more white. And the higher the contrast, the easier it is going to be able to actually like plot these little points. If it's a low contrast image and the whites are actually more of like a light gray, it's going to be a lot, maybe more stressful because you'll want to paint in all of the little gray areas, but making it like super stark white and black just makes it so much easier. Plus it looks really beautiful and like really stark. So I know she's there's her mole. I'll do that right now. So it already looks like her. So that's how I'm gonna proceed with the other two characters before I move on to like filling things in, just so that it's consistent across the board. Also, when I have them all kind of outlined like this, it's just gonna make it a lot easier for me to remove it from the projector. And then I actually leave my setup just like this, and then fill things in, and I can actually see like clearly where shadows are, and then I can fill in these areas using the guidelines that I've created. So Tammy's saying her sugar art Master Elite black went blue. And Amber said hers went more of a brown. Yeah, like that's totally exactly what I've heard. I so want to test these out for myself, and I wonder if other, like, you know, other things that you put in your royal icing, if that affect the color, and like how it would appear if you're just painting with the sugar art powder, just pure. Has anyone tried that? Just painting with the sugar powder? Like, I have no idea what color. Yeah, so Master Elite dust is different than Master Elite is different than the Elite dust. Yes. So the Master Elites are just like the food coloring pigments, I think. And the Elite dusts are like petal dusts, luster dusts. And that's all that Katie paints with. So you just use the Sugar Art Master Elites and the Elite Dusts. I think I only have a few of their products, which I really like, and then I have some Roxy and Rich things as well. I painted fondant navy. Wow. If it's blue, then you have too much. Oh, interesting. So it turns the right color after a few minutes, the Sugar Art dusts. Like, is that for all of the colors? It starts off slightly different color for the Sugar Elite, and then as it sits. I'm definitely gonna have to try some of the Sugar Art products and see how they compare, because right now I just use all the Chef Master food coloring gels, but then I paint with those as well. And I really like them, but yeah, it's totally different experience because it's a gel as opposed to a powder. Yes, it's safe. So Freezer just asks, is it safe for kids to eat this cookie because of the alcohol that we use? So once your alcohol, I mean, this goes for any application of alcohol and painting on cookies. If you're mixing gold with alcohol or food colors with alcohol to paint with, once the alcohol evaporates, there is no alcoholic content left. So you can't taste it. It goes down to 0% once it's evaporated. It's kind of like baking with alcohol. Vanilla has an alcoholic content, but it's totally safe once it's baked out of the product. So I'm gonna do the same thing with Winnie's face here. I'm gonna outline where these shadows hit her. So Mitchie says you make it look so easy. How long is the bristle on your brush? We get it right in the camera's view. So if you can see right there, it's like, I want to say about a 1/4 inch long, the actual brush part, about a 1/4 inch. And then these brushes are from my online shop, and you can buy very similar ones. I think they've just got like a mermaid tail instead of the feathers, from Inspired to Taste. I think Borderlands Bakery also has some ultra fine tip ones. Amber asks, will this charcoal have a taste? No, it definitely won't have a taste. I mean, unless you're literally like spooning the dry charcoal into your mouth, like it might taste a little carbony. Like when you eat a burnt marshmallow, you can kind of taste the burnt on it, but in this application, you're definitely not going to taste it. I mix charcoal powder sometimes in with my coffee, because it's also like a great detox in very small amounts. And I can't taste it at all. You can also buy like charcoal water now, which is supposed to be like a detox water. And I've tried that before, and you really don't taste it. But yeah, just paint it onto a cookie. You're definitely not going to taste it. So Katie asked, do we want to outline all the details of the jacket, or will we touch those up with white? Yeah, I probably am just going to go like this, just outline like where these little pearls are, not outline every single pearl themselves. So like that, and just kind of make them look like a little bit irregular shaped. I'm not too concerned with how these are going to look. Oh, Tammy says she's using toothpaste. So charcoal toothpaste, right? It can negate in medications. I've also heard this. So this is why if you decide you want to consume charcoal, again, like on a cookie, the amount is so small. It's really not something to worry about. But like I said, like if I'm adding charcoal, you know, like a little spoonful of it directly into 1 cup of coffee. It is just something to be aware of, that if you are taking, I guess, certain medications, I do take antidepressants, and I haven't noticed any effect from those when I take charcoal. But, you know, certain things can, because charcoal is so absorbent, it can actually absorb things that you don't want it to absorb. So because it's like used as a detoxifier, for example, if you were to drink a bottle of poison and you were going to go to the ER, they might give you charcoal because it actually absorbs that poison and pulls it out of your system. But the same thing goes with good things in your system. If you're chugging bottles of charcoal water all day long, it may actually cause some nutrient deficiencies because it's pulling good things out of your system as well as bad things. It can't distinguish between those things. So you definitely don't want to just like be consuming it in huge quantities. But again, painting it onto a cookie, adding a teaspoon or 2 into your icing is not going to affect your body like over the long run in any profound way. For these purposes, it's quite safe. So Jean says, what's the best way to fix mistakes with charcoal? I guess it depends on the mistake. Like if I were to like, oops, like do something like that, I'm probably just gonna leave it to dry for now. I mean, eventually I am going to paint that all in with black, but let's just say I did that on her face. I would take a clean brush in alcohol and just like kind of work it away, and then use, oh, I thought I had paper towel here, and then use like paper towel to kind of just blot it up. So you can actually like take it away quite easily because it really just sits on top of icing. Yeah, use a paper towel or a Kleenex if you have one. I just forgot mine in the kitchen. You can always touch it up with a bit of white if you really want to, blend it into some gray. Farah asks, can we use brand new watercolor or acrylic brushes on the cookies? Absolutely. I mean, as long as the brushes are clean and they don't have, you know, little dry remnants of acrylic paint stuck in them, they're totally fine. I do like to wash my brushes, often water, but then before I go directly back into the paint, I use a little bit, I wash it off again in a little bit of vodka, and that just helps to like disinfect it because it's alcohol. So for Winnie's hair, I'm kind of just outlining around the areas that like have the white sort of highlights in it, just so I know not to go over these with black later. Have you guys heard that they're actually making a Hocus Pocus 2? I saw it was like confirmed on social media, like in some news article the other day. And then here I'm gonna do the same thing for Mary's hair. She's got this white highlighted area. Just gonna go down it like that so I know not to paint in that little area. So those of you who are following along, what point are you at? I'm just curious to know, and then I will show the tissue transfer technique. Okay, so you guys sort of on the far right, Sarah, Winnie, and Mary. So most people are like at least halfway. So I'm gonna just quickly go over the tissue transfer method. So it's gonna be, it's kind of similar, but I wanna say a little bit more difficult, just because you don't actually see the detail on the cookie like so cleanly. So I'm going to take my reference image for the tissue transfer method and a piece of tissue paper. So this is great if you don't have a projector. And I'm actually going to tape this down. I forgot my tape. Be right back. No, my tape has disappeared. Oh no, it is right here. I had it all along. Okay. So I'm actually going to tape this down so that the tissue paper does not shift at all over top of the reference image. Shh. And with an edible ink marker, whichever your finest tip is, shh, cat is meowing. I'm actually going to do the same thing that I did with this, outline the very fine details. Like her eyebrows. I'm only gonna do, for just this example, I'm just gonna do the Sarah Sanderson's sister, just so I don't spend way too much time, because the tissue transfer method is a little bit more time consuming. well, maybe I'll just do part of Winnie. Just a quick part. Okay, so I've done these two for my tissue transfer. So what I'm going to do is remove the reference image and take my fresh cookie. I'm going to put it underneath of the tissue. And then I'm going to tape this down nice and tight. Okay, so this is why it's so time consuming. Once you've already gone over the image and traced it all, you put the tissue over top of your cookie, and then you have to go over all of the lines a second time. And this is going to make the ink bleed through the tissue paper. If I were just to do this, it wouldn't really do anything. The ink's not going to bleed through, but going over it a second time, fresh ink is going to bleed through right onto the cookie, and you're going to have some guidelines to work with. Hope that works. take a peek. It did work. Okay, so ink is transferred through, but as you can see, it's much harder to achieve the same level of detail. So you would want to go back over this and like connect these dots. But it does give a really great starting point for plotting the facial features and where you want everything to go. Like I can't imagine just starting this with a blank cookie and like just starting from nothing. So at least you have, like, with a reference image, you can connect the little dots, add the shadow, you have something to work with. So it is super helpful. And this is like a great technique. You can apply it in many different ways if you don't have a projector. Okay, so I'm assuming most of you now have finished all three of your characters. Back to the projector. Okay, so now that I have all my lines plotted out, I need to add a little more alcohol here. Okay, so now that I have my lines all plotted out, I'm gonna sort of go back over the main ones, the facial features, the mouth, the nose, eyebrows anywhere that, you know, like aren't filled in. Sarah's eyebrows are quite dark and severe, so I'm just gonna paint those in a little bit. Don't worry about painting in the eyeballs at this point. You can if you want, but if you like, I'm not going to paint all of them in just because you can see there is a little bit of shine in their eyes. So you can just do a little bit. If you do want to go ahead and like paint the entire eyeball in, you can add the little whites of the eyes separately with some white royal icing or a drop of the white Chef Master gel. But I like to leave that step for last just because it's like the final touch. Oops, made her lips a little big there on that edge. It's fine. Okay, so at this point, like I'm not going to use the projector to project the image onto the cookie anymore. I'm going to use it as like reference only, or you can use your actual reference image if that's a little bit easier for you to see, or use both. But I'll use, can you move? Oh yes. Let me move my, there we go. Okay. Move my cookie upwards slightly. So I'm going to use just like a small flat brush. So I'm going to use this brush, and this one I'm going to use, and I'm going to fill in all of the shadowy areas. So start with like some super light washed out gray. You can also mix in like a little bit of white if you want. And I'm just going to like blend in the shadows of her cheek here. Actually, yeah, so it'll make it a little bit easier for you guys to see both. So like she's got really dark shadow around her eyes here, so I'm going to fill that in as well. But again, you don't have to make it too dark right off the bat because you can't always darken it. So remember, you can always darken it, you can't always lighten it if you make something too dark. So this is just like a little flat brush that I'm using right now. But you can use whatever brush is most comfortable for you at this point. So yeah, using my reference image, I'm gonna fill in all the darker areas. So like underneath her chin, around her neck. Here. At this point, you can also fill in like the black background. So Winnie's hair is mostly dark, but like, again, I'm not gonna go over her whole head with black. She'll just disappear into the background. So I've already outlined these areas that I'm gonna leave white as the highlights in her hair. So I'm just gonna go in around those areas. And since her hair is also quite curly, I'm sort of gonna just add like a curl swoop with my brush. So Frisia asks, when you make gray, do you mix the white gel with the black? Yeah, you can definitely do that. You can either just water down your black a little bit, although it will be more of like a watercolor effect. If you mix a little bit of the white in there, it's going to change the color slightly, but it's also going to be more of an opaque effect. So you can really do both. It's up to you and what you feel more comfortable with. When it comes to sort of blending some areas of the face, I'm going to use some white in there, and I'll show you when I get back to some of the finer details. Okay, so for details like Sarah's long blonde hair, she's got black all through the bottom here that shows like the differentiation of the strands. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use black, and I'm going to start from the bottom and just wisp it upwards. So it looks like her hair is sort of falling into the black as opposed to like a big chunk of black coming downwards. Does that make sense? Yeah, so it just looks a little more wispy this way. From the top with her roots, I'm just going to do similar things, just kind of drag it out. And she's got quite thick black eye makeup, so now I'm going to go around her eye and just load up on that a bit. It may have been a little bit too much, but it's okay. So the nose, I'm gonna start with very light shades, very, very watered down black, and just sort of pile it up until I get more definition in her nose. And same, there's a little bit of a shadow right underneath of her nose there, so I'm just gonna kind of work at that. So I'm not super happy with how I did her lips. I made her top lip just because my brush kind of slipped. I was a little careless. I made her top lip much thicker than I would have liked. So I'm going to just use my brush and just sort of wet her top lip a bit. And then I'm going to use another clean, dry brush and kind of just pull it up and wipe it off with a paper towel, except I don't have my paper towel here, so I'm just using my hand, but don't worry, no one's going to be getting this cookie. That's looking a little better. And now I'm just going to use a little bit of the white gel. There's like a little bit of a black sort of shadow over her lip from where I wiped some charcoal powder away. So I'm just going to use a little bit of white gel to just kind of disguise it a little bit more. There, that's much better. And she's also got a bit of a shadow here, so I'm just gonna work that bit of black right to here. So some of the black that I initially drew in here, I'm just going to go in now with a damp paintbrush and just use that paintbrush to sort of blend it into the shadow on her hairline and the side of her face. And you can use a little bit of white to help blend that as well if you want. And another great trick for blending is actually using just like a totally dry brush to just help blend it in. Using a dry brush just helps to, yeah, also like absorb some of the liquid, so it helps the picture to dry and it's just a little bit easier to blend. also going to just use a little bit of vodka to wet my brush and just sort of soften in some of the harsh lines that I had painted into her hair earlier. Like this edge here, it's looking pretty harsh. So I'm just gonna kind of blend it with a bit of a damp brush. So it looks a little bit more like she's got some frizz going on. So it looks a little more natural. You can use a little bit of white gel if you want, to just sort of drag out these little baby hairs, these little frizzy hairs she's got sticking out from her head. Just put a little bit on my brush. It's gonna fade a little bit, but you'll still get a little bit of that sort of wispy effect she's got going on. And at any point, you guys, if you have questions, let me know. I'm pretty happy with how Sarah's face is looking. So I'm gonna come back and do this hand later because, you know what, no, I'll do this hand right now. Yeah, I just hate doing hands. Okay, so a few areas here haven't been filled in, so I'm just gonna use my black to like fill in this little dark area. This little dark area. And there's some folds of the palm going on here. She's got a lot of gray on her hand, so I'm gonna draw a lot of outlines and then use a damp brush to just sort of blend everything together. And I don't anticipate this is gonna be perfect. I really dislike drawing hands, and like it's really hard to see what's even going on with this hand. So just kind of gonna make it up as I go. So there's definitely like a nail here. This palm here. So there's some, this is the thumb in there. some creases going on right here. A shadow going along this side of her hands. I'm just going to draw that in. And looks like this is part of here, this lacy bit. So I'm just going to fill that in because nobody will know. Yep. And then we've got the sort of lacy sleeve. So I'm kind of just going to be drawing on this. I mean, I guess it's actually more of a mesh. I'm going to be drawing on this sort of mesh in squiggles. And this section is actually quite dark. So this I'm basically just going to almost entirely fill it in. And there's one dark seam. The rest is all sort of mesh. So I'm just going to sort of do like a little cross hatching mesh look. And I'm going to blend some of her palm. And this is where like having a reference image right in front of you is really helpful because you can sort of determine, like, once you have the shape, you can determine exactly which areas are shaded. This is mostly how I work when I do any type of like painted portrait photos, is I have a reference image like right on top of the cookie so I can get like a really good idea once I've already, you know, plotted out facial features and things like that, of exactly where shadows go and how dark they are. And I'm gonna do the same thing with this hand. Now this one's gonna be a lot easier because it's really like blown out white. I'm sure your hand doesn't look any more like a dinosaur claw than mine does. Like, you know, when you look so closely at it, okay, I just made that part way too dark, but whatever. Like, it still looks like, you know, what exactly is that? But like from far away, it looks like a hand, because like the nice thing about painting in like grayscale is you can kind of fake it. But I mean, these are witches' hands, so they are supposed to be like you know, long nails, kind of creepy looking. Tammy painted over the hands. Also a really good idea if you just want to avoid them entirely. Another, you know, benefit of painting in all just black and white is, oh, her hand has just sunken into the shadows. Got nothing to explain. There's just no hand there. So this hand, she's got like this shadow on the side of her wrist. I'm just gonna and so since this hand is mostly white, I'm basically just gonna kind of blend the edges of it so that it looks a little bit softer, but I'm not gonna add too much detail to it. So this finger right up against her neck, you can tell is like in the shadows. So that I'm just gonna make a little bit more gray over here. Okay, so I'll do the little beads along Winnie's coat. So since I've left these sort of like these white lines, I'm just gonna divide them like this. And then I'll go back in and just kind of round them off. Or you can use white piping icing and add them as 3D details. That actually might be really nice looking. I don't really know like what kind of design this is, so I'm just kind of, you know, gonna blur it into shadows so you can see that there's some kind of design on whatever she's wearing, but it's not, can't really tell what it is. There's just a bunch of swirls of black and white. So Frisia says, I'm so far behind. If we have to leave it where it is, can I come back to it later, as in Saturday? Absolutely. So after this live stream is done, you can't rewind right now, unfortunately, while it's live. But after the live stream is finished, I'm going to be posting it to the page of this group. And at that point, you can go back and watch the video, pause it, rewind it, as many times as you want, like from any point moving forward. You'll have access to the video like for as long as Facebook exists. So you can, if you need to leave, go for dinner, can't stay for the rest of the live stream, you can absolutely tune in later on because it'll be saved. And then, you know, you won't be able to ask questions in real time, but of course feel free, if it's not mentioned in the live, someone else hasn't asked the question, just like feel free to reach out and ask me if your question isn't addressed. So Winnie's eyebrows, quite severe, and like her eyelashes here meet almost the bottom of like the end of her eyebrow here. So I'm just going to be drawing those in quite a bit thicker. And I wish I left a little bit more white. Like there's a lot of white around her pupils and I didn't really leave any here. So I'm actually gonna go over that with a little bit of white gel just to add that white space back in. Okay, so I'm gonna fill in the shadow on the side of Winnie's face now, which is like making me feel a little bit stressed because, man, she has some severe shadowing on that side of her face. So I'll just start very light because I can always make it way darker, but like this is almost as dark as the rest of the black here, so I'll definitely be darkening it up. And her eye also is almost completely shaded in under here, so I will do that as well. And now I need to join, I'm going to join these two shadows here because it's not totally white right in here. So I'm actually just going to mix in a little bit of my white gel and just sort of like blend the two together. Can I do a zoom in on my cookie real quick? Yeah, I'll actually lift my cookie to show you guys. So here's how it's looking so far. So I'm just using a little bit of white to like blend the shadows on Winnie's face just to keep it like really blended and light. Awesome. Thank you, Frisia. I can't wait to see how, I wish this could be like, I could see all of your guys at the same time as well. If you post it to Facebook or Instagram, definitely tag me so I can share it. Gabrielle says, you don't want to see my mangled faces. Oh, I don't believe you. I mean, they are witches, so they are supposed to be really ugly, remember. Also remember, we are our own worst critics. What's the other one? One person's trash is another person's treasure. So other people will look at your cookies and be like, wow, I couldn't do that. So Winnie also has, I don't know if you guys can kind of see it, she has a little bit of a rosy cheek going on here, and it's very, very pale gray. So I'm gonna do the same thing and just use like, basically just unclean, like water. That's how pale I have this little bit of rosiness going on to just paint on her cheek here. And again, I'm just going to blend this side of her face so it looks nice and soft and sort of swoop that into a bit of cheekbone. So I made that line a little bit too severe, so I'm just gonna use a little bit of a wet brush to just kind of blend it in a little bit more. Again, use a paper towel normally for this, but just blot it a little bit. Cheryl says, thank you so much, you're an amazing artist. I will have to finish with my replay because my Mac powers to my Pico and my Mac just died, so it has to recharge. Okay, sounds great, Cheryl. Thank you so much for tuning in while you can. I'm so appreciative of everyone who's joined this live stream. It's really wonderful. Is the live stream, is everyone able to, sorry, just a brief pause. Is everyone still watching it okay? I just have it like on my own laptop going so that I can watch the playback, and it just looks like it's having some trouble. But maybe that's my own internet. So let me know if anyone's having trouble watching it right now. Okay, thanks so much for responding, you guys, to that, because I have the live stream going on my phone, and then my computer is on silent, but I have it open on my computer so that I can read all of your comments and watch the video and make sure the playback doesn't freeze or anything. And all of a sudden my computer said that it wasn't playing, but it looked like it was still streaming well on my phone. So, okay, I'm glad you guys were still seeing. So Katie says, remind me of what we did for Winnie's wispy hair. So I'll just do it on this cookie really quick. So because her hair is like curly, so if you outlined like these little white areas, like I kind of just brushed her hair like this. Get it a little bit darker. So Tammy says, I'm here, but I have to run. My handless photo doesn't look too bad. Oh, I'm so glad. Oh, I definitely tag me whenever you're done it. I'd love to see. Right, so Winnie's hair, I kind of just do like this circular motion. It's almost like you're painting a C over and over again. And it kind of gives like that nice texture where you can still see some of the highlights that hit her head. So that's how I did Winnie's hair. Okay, so Winnie's got some shadowing on her chest here, so I'm basically just gonna like blend the lines that I already have here to just create some of that shadowing. So Farah says, while you are creating such a beautiful piece of art, I have a question. Can we copy a face of a singer or a band on a cookie and share on social media, or do we have to ask for permission? You can totally do that. So, I mean, you know, it's a tough question. If you're doing a whole bunch of cookies of you know, that has somebody's likeness or a character of like a Disney princess. If you're doing a big, you know, order for somebody of characters that are copyrighted, like these 3 would be, technically like, oh, you're not supposed to sell them. So, you know, stores that have Etsy shops, they can be flagged or taken down. I have never come across somebody being told not to use character cookies, and I've never been told. I mean, I've done a lot of portrait cookies and used a lot of images of celebrities and well-known people, and have never been told to cease and desist. It is kind of a personal choice. This cookie, you know, is not for sale. It's not like a store regular. You're using an image that just like exists. It's totally fine. But like if somebody orders, you know, Paw Patrol birthday cookies, which is like super common. Lots of people do. There are pictures all over Instagram of Paw Patrol cookies for a birthday party. Like they don't have the rights to use Paw Patrol images, but they do. And like chances are they're not going to get into any trouble. Like these companies are just so big. One example is, you guys know on Instagram, Holly Fox. Her cookies are stunning, and she did this was a little while ago when I saw it and I was like amazed. But she did a set and it was like baby clothes and it was Monsters Inc. themed. And Disney reposted her. Like Disney with like 20 million followers reposted that picture, even though she did this Monsters Inc. set, you know, without permission from Disney. And, you know, they reposted it. Like basically for companies, like it's free marketing. They know you're not really making money off of this. If you have, you know, if you wanted to do a portrait picture of Taylor Swift, like somebody, you know, someone else might tell you, yeah, definitely reach out to her and ask if you can use her image. But really, like, just personally, my personal opinion is that that's one, if you do that, you'll never get a response. And two, they're never going to reach out to you and say, please don't use a picture of Taylor Swift on a cookie. It's just not going to happen. So again, it is like, it's kind of a personal thing. You can Google intellectual property. That's really what these things are. Using characters for cookies without permission is technically called, you know, theft of intellectual property. Yeah, so Frisia says, Pet the Cat posted the picture of my cookies on their official Instagram page. Like you're, again, it's totally a personal thing. As a graphic designer, I know how important it is to copyright your work, and it's very upsetting if somebody steals it. But things like Hocus Pocus, you know, big bands, you know, this stuff is not technically public domain, but they're so household that like 100% you can basically get away with it. Like they'll actually love seeing this type of stuff. Yeah, I mean, of everything I've ever done, I've only ever had reposts and people saying how it's amazing. Even, yeah, like, I'm trying to think of one that was like fairly recent. I can't remember. I'll find some examples for you guys. But yeah, like Frisia says, usually, if you're just posting a picture, like, you know, you don't have to say like, these Paw Patrol cookies I sell in my shop, because maybe that would be like, you put a little bit more of a target on your back because you're making money off of somebody else's design. But if you're just making a cookie because you really want to, and then you post a picture of it to your Instagram, I do not think that's going to be a problem at all. Yeah. Katie says, I've only ever heard of Chick-fil-A asking people not to. That's really funny also. But yeah, if you're posting something and it's clearly like you've used an image that's not your image and you're promoting it as like something you want to make money from and sell, that's probably the only way you might get in trouble. But I'd say the chances are really slim. But yeah, if you have a band or a celebrity, you really want to do a picture of them, I just say go for it. Yeah, it's Chick-fil-A, super random. Mitchie says, in 2012, I got a cease and desist from Disney. Disney is, I know they have people out there who like on purpose scope through Instagram, looking for people who use their work. I know lots of Etsy shops have had that happen to them. Like they've made like a t-shirt with the Disney princess on it. That is like totally not okay to then sell a t-shirt for, you know, $20 a piece with an image that doesn't belong to you on it. Yeah, that would totally make sense. Mitchie, I'm super curious to know what you did to get a cease and desist from Disney. And Mitchie says it's framed in my office like a trophy. I can imagine. I would totally have that framed too. To even just know that they saw your work, right? Made a Belle doll cake. Did you, so is it on your Instagram? I would love to see like a link to it. Yeah, so as long as you guys like, if you drop, like maybe just don't mention like, this cookie's for sale, like let's have a bidding war. If you want to buy it, order from, you know, don't make it so obvious that like these are for sale. Mitchie says, I bought the Belle doll topper from a grocery store bakery. That's so interesting. I wonder, because I can only imagine that like one of two things. This Belle doll topper was a actual legit Disney product that this grocery store got in stock and then sold it, of course, to anyone who goes into a grocery store, which is not like a professional buyer who will then, or baker who will then pay $10,000 for the rights to use a Disney character. Or if this Disney topper itself was also like a ripped off product created by a third party. That is so fascinating. And likewise, like I've done a Belle doll cake before, and it's on my Instagram, and I've done lots of Disney things before, and I've never gotten a cease and desist. I think it's like a combination of bad luck, but yeah. Maybe you just like don't promote that it's for sale. Just say like, look at these cookies I made. Mitchie says, with regards to the Belle doll topper, it's because I shared it on my website as a cake design I sell. I was told I could purchase a single-use license for $12,000 US. Yes, that is totally what it costs. And when she says a single-use license for $12,000 US, it means you can recreate that Belle doll one time. Not you pay $12,000 and you have that design. You can make that Belle doll as many times as you want. $12,000 each time you make that Belle doll. But yeah, that's totally wise because it was listed on your website. So yeah, if you list, put it on your Instagram, maybe just don't mention anything about how it's for sale. And if somebody reaches out directly to you, then you can discuss that with them. But again, this was 2012, so 8 years ago. The internet and baking has come a long way since then, and I don't think Disney could even keep up, honestly. But still, it worth not the risk to promote it on your website as an item you sell. Just maybe say, this is something I have made, and chances are, if somebody wants it, they'll reach out saying, can you make this for me again? And then it's just a custom commission. So Mitchie says it was actually 2010, so even longer ago. So the Instagram is way oversaturated now with Disney cakes and stuff. I'd just say, as long as you're not mentioning this is for sale and I do this, you're not going to get in trouble. And again, at the most, if you do get in trouble, they'll just send you a cease and desist letter, and that's it. And Mitchie uses the hashtag fan art now, which is brilliant. And if you know how important it is to give credit to the actual artist. So if you were to post a picture of a Belle cake today and use like hashtag fan art and then actually tag Disney in the post, like, I think you'd be more likely to get a repost than a cease and desist letter, because it's free marketing for them. So Frisia says, a local baker told me I needed a permit for a school log for football season. Oh, school logo, I think you mean. A school logo for a football season. I wish I didn't say anything. So she gave me the info to contact the school, and funny, I graduated from that school. They told me it was $500 to get the permit. I don't want to pay $500, obviously, so I can't do it now because I gave them my Instagram account. For like a high school. Yeah, probably a college. Oh, I'm not from the States, but I know college football is a big thing down there. I probably wouldn't risk that. but you could use colors inspired by them. Other than that, I would say if like the college reached out to you directly and said, can you do logo cookies for us? Then of course you don't have to pay them to make them cookies of their logo. But yeah, I would be, if they've already told you not to, I would be careful just because you never know. Katie says, I think I have to stop messing with it now. Some of my eyes are a little crazy. But that's okay. Crazy eyes is really good for witches. Thank you so much. You're so welcome, Katie. I can't wait to see. Definitely send me a picture or tag me in it. I would love to see it. Some of my eyes are a little bit crazy too. But maybe you guys can't really tell because you're not as close as I am. And then Frisia says, at the end, the lady from the other baker didn't have a permit for this college football logo. Bakers, right? Sheesh. I feel like that was probably her trying to not look out for you. I think she was actually probably trying to foil your plans, perhaps. For Winnie's mouth here, you can see I've filled it in all black, but she's actually got this nice shine on her lower lip. So what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of white and just kind of blend that in so you get some definition here. Frisia says, I have to go. I can't wait to finish my cookie. Thank you so much. This is so insightful. Frisia, thank you so much for joining us. I loved your story just now about the logo, and I can't wait to see how your cookie turns out. Please tag me or send it to me so I can see it when it's done. And Donna says she needs some thinner brushes. Definitely helps to have the finer tip, the better. Yeah, you can, there's brushes in my store. Otherwise, totally check Amazon, Inspired to Taste, Borderlands Bakeries. Their online stores also have some really great fine tipped brushes. So Mary's got a lot of shading down the side of her face. So I'm basically just going to use this flat brush and kind of just like blend everything so that it looks like some heavy shadows. So Jean says, any tips for ordering fine tip brushes on Amazon? Example, 10 out of 0 fine versus, I don't know what that means, but I will take a look and then post some links to some Amazon brushes as soon as this live stream is done. Actually, I can probably just take a look right now. Just posted a couple of links to some brushes on Amazon. Otherwise, if you live near an art store, you can go and pick out your brushes yourself. I used to love doing that. And I usually tend to go for ones that are watercolor because they're super soft. So Jean says, thanks for the links. I missed a bit while putting my little guy down and caught the end of the Disney discussion. Do you guys chat about tagging, creating original photos for the post, how to go about crediting, copying photos or other artwork? So if you missed the beginning of the conversation, it came about, I can't remember now who asked the question about using imagery. But anyways, Mitchie in this group said that she had posted once a Disney Belle cake that she had made with a topper, like a plastic doll topper of Belle from a grocery store that she'd purchased. And she listed this cake on her website as a custom design for ordering cakes, and then she received a cease and desist letter from Disney saying you can't use the design of Belle for your cakes. So the reason she got that cease and desist is because she advertised that this was her cake design. But anyways, so if you're posting on Instagram and you're going to use a picture of something that is copyrighted, for example, Hocus Pocus or any Disney character, or like literally almost anything, definitely like give credit. If you like are using, like an image of Belle, like she's obviously a copyrighted character, Disney is not gonna give you permission to use it. But if you tag Disney in your post saying, look at my Belle cookies, there's a much higher chance that Disney is going to repost your work rather than send you a cease and desist letter for posting Belle cookies. It's free marketing for them. And as long as you say, like, you don't say like, this is a new design I'm adding to my store, like order them from me. You're well within your right to just like create a piece of fan art. And use the hashtag fan art was a really great tip. So then people actually know. But yeah, like I've known some other Instagram users, like, who was it I mentioned? Holly Fox posted some Monsters Inc. Cookies a little while ago, and like she was reposted by Disney, and Disney has like 20 million followers. And that's because she tagged Disney in her post and hashtagged them, and just made that super obvious. And other users have had some, big companies repost them when they've tagged, they've given credit to the original company, artist, whoever it is. Always a good idea just to play it safe. But especially with big companies like Disney, because they actually have teams who go out onto the internet looking for people who've stolen their imagery. But I think that, like, for the most part, it applies to online shops. For example, Etsy. It happens a lot on Etsy. If you're, you open an Etsy store, and in the Etsy store you sell t-shirts that you make, and all the t-shirts have like a picture of Ariel or Belle on them, Disney's going to get mad at you because you do not have permission to make t-shirts and then profit off of those designs. But if you're just making cookies and posting a picture, there's very little chance that you'll get in any serious trouble. If you're posting that these are your designs and you can order them from them, they might send you a cease and desist letter at the most. So yeah, just be really careful when you guys are posting photos, not to, just don't say like, order these cookies from me. Just post them and say they're cookies that you made. And if somebody reaches out and says, I must have those cookies for my kid's birthday, then you discuss that privately with them, but don't advertise that, they're your cookie designs and put them on your website. More specifically, if you post this Hocus Pocus class cookie, should I be crediting the photo that we are recreating? If so, what should I include? Honestly, I don't think there's, like, I don't even know who you would tag. You could tag Disney. I think Disney owns Hocus Pocus. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure. I posted this photo twice to my Instagram page. I haven't tagged anyone. So yeah, it's kind of just like, there's a chance that you take. I mean, and I haven't, said anywhere that this is my design. It's quite clearly, it's a Hocus Pocus class. We're using this image of the sisters. But yeah, if you want to tag Disney, you definitely can. And say, painted this cookie and tag Disney. Had so much fun learning how to do it. yeah, I don't think there's anything stopping you from posting this. I've already posted it twice. Yeah. Sophia says, how do we credit this picture? Like, what should we write? And Jean says, specifically, if I post this Hocus Pocus cookie class, should I credit the photo? What we're recreating? I mean, you could say anything like, painted this myself. Lucy Bakes showed me how to use charcoal to paint on a cookie of, Disney's Hocus Pocus, the three sisters from Disney's Hocus Pocus, something like that. But yeah, unless, you're advertising, the only thing I wouldn't do is say like, I'm making this cookie now, so order from me, it's for sale, and start, posting about how this image is like now in your repertoire of things people can order from you. That's sort of like just the one no I would say. But you can definitely say, I painted this, with the instruction of me, and then you can totally throw it back at me. So if anyone gets in trouble, it's me. I'm totally happy, for you guys to tag me. And you can say from Disney's Hocus Pocus. But yeah, this isn't something we're selling. I'm not selling, this image. I'm teaching you guys how to paint with charcoal. I hope that answers the question. Mitchie, yes, says, yes, do that, and maybe I'll get a trophy like me. Yes, if I got a cease and desist letter from Disney, I would be very impressed with myself for getting their attention. But yes, the only reason I'm pretty sure Mitchie got her cease and desist letter is because she advertised it on her website as a product that can be ordered. And that's like the big no-no. But yeah, use hashtag fan art. This kind of stuff exists all over Instagram. I think you're totally safe if you want to post this. This hand looks like a claw. Shoot. Oh well. But yeah, with regards to this class, like this class is not, it's not called Hocus Pocus class. It's painting with charcoal. So this is just the image that we're using. We're not selling this image. I'm not selling this cookie. I doubt you guys are going to make 500 of these cookies and try to sell them. With this class is more about learning the technique. So yeah, tag Disney, tag Hocus Pocus, hashtag fan art. I don't see any problem with that, like from an ethical standpoint. It is what it is, it's fan art. Tammy says, if you're not teaching, how long would this cookie take you to paint? Honestly, pretty similar to the live that you're seeing now. Maybe like a little faster just because I'm not talking, and then like I'll take a pause to, you know, read through you guys' comments and stuff. But honestly, I think the first time I painted it, it took somewhere around the 2-hour mark. Sweet Spot Cookie says, yes, I'm using Smirnoff vodka as my alcohol right now. Unfortunately, where I am, I have the, like, Everclear just doesn't really exist here. It's super hard to find. I've only found it in one store in Vancouver, and it's like the 75% Everclear, which works really well. But so most of the time I use vodka unless I can find Everclear. But I think somebody else asked earlier, so with using alcohol on cookies, doesn't mean that kids then will get drunk if they eat the cookies. I mean, the alcohol content will completely evaporate by the time the paint is dry. So you don't have to worry about that. Like, by the time this is dry, there's no alcohol left. It's all evaporated. Oops. I'm just gonna go over some of my black areas now and make them like really dark. kind of made Winnie's eyebrow here really dark at first, so I'm just going to use a little bit of white to just kind of lighten it to a gray. I think I might be done. Maybe a little more blending of Mary over here. Thanks so much, Farah. Farah says, same as your other work, this is amazing as well. Thank you so much. I was kind of terrified to have to recreate it. Oh, I missed the section right here completely. I'll just blend it in. Yeah, I was kind of terrified to recreate it completely. I was like, what if the second time it just looks terrible? But pulled through. Maybe now I'm done. Whew. Is anyone else done? Not even close. You'll get there. You'll get there. There's no rush. Gabrielle says, do you think the grade of the alcohol makes a difference? It's a tough question. It might be like the alcoholic content, like 40% versus 70% or 75%. Definitely can affect the icing underneath. With how, like, whether or not it degrades the icing. So that's a possibility. Like, the higher the alcoholic content, the faster it evaporates, so the less chance that it will have to eat away at the icing and cause those horrible little rough holes. But other than that, I'm not too sure. Yeah, I've used both vodka and Everclear, which is like way higher. And so far both seem to work quite fine. Sometimes I find, like, to get a really nice canvased paint, if you like add corn syrup to your icing or let it dry in a dehydrator or in front of a fan, and the icing dries like super shiny, I do find that actually makes it a little easier to paint on. But yeah, so Gabrielle says, yeah, because mine looks grainy. Yeah, that can totally be like if you're using an alcohol that's not, that doesn't evaporate fast enough. So then it starts to eat away at the sugar underneath. Yeah. I don't know, does that make sense? And then Mirabelle says, the charcoal gets powdery and thick. What do I do? Add more vodka or Everclear? So like your little pile of charcoal right here. Yeah, so I definitely add more Everclear. So Everclear or vodka alcohol will evaporate super fast. And charcoal powder absorbs things super fast. So it's going to dry like extra fast. So like I dumped quite a bit of alcohol in mine to start, and like my plate is completely dry. So yeah, and like I just like to keep a little bowl of alcohol so I can just mix it like this when needed. So that's how I keep my palette wet. But yeah, you just got to keep adding alcohol to keep your charcoal powder wet, because it will evaporate like super fast and dry super fast. But also that's a benefit of using it to paint with, because like once it's dry, like it's totally dry and it's not going to smudge. And Tammy and Katie posted pictures of their finished. I'm gonna take a look. I'm so excited. This one's Tammy's. Tammy says, I legit can't draw, but I'm thrilled you can even tell what this is. Except for the shading on Bette Midler's face. Oh, it still looks like excellent though. Maybe in person, I don't know, but it still looks excellent on this photo. I mean, anybody would know who, yeah, it's totally recognizable, you guys. And Katie's also looks awesome. And I love that you guys got rid of the hand. It's so funny. I love them. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see more. Yeah, but if you, okay, so back to grainy charcoal powder, grainy finish. So this is how, I made a lot of extra cookies just in case. I don't know if you guys can see like how shiny this cookie is. And like with this royal icing, like I have a little bit of corn syrup in there, but also I have them drying in front of a fan. So I find like if the finish is super shiny like this, I just have an easier time painting on it. Let me just show you guys real quick. So like it just goes on super smooth. And I guess because it's super shiny, it doesn't just like absorb into the icing right away. So like you can actually kind of lift it up. Before it starts to eat away at the icing. Yeah, so it does get a little bit grainy then if I try to wipe it away, but like overall the shiny canvas really, really helps. Tammy, I can't wait to see yours this weekend. If you guys have any other questions, just let me know. I think I blocked the timeout until from 4 till 7, so it's 6:55. So I'll just sit and wait for any more questions you guys have for a few minutes. Sarah and Darlene say, thank you so much for this amazing class. You're so welcome. I was super nervous for this one, so I'm actually really glad my demo cookie turned out. Mitchie says, tell us about my next class. So the next class I have is Royal Icing Knits. It's more of a beginner level. We're going to be working on Royal Icing consistencies and creating knit sweaters using piping icing. And then the one after that, I posted it to Facebook just today, and it's my 3D pickup truck cookie. I had initially done this template like a year, or maybe even 2 years ago. It was like a pumpkin patch, like a teal colored pumpkin patch truck. So for that class, we're going to be creating the 3D pickup truck as a Christmas truck with a Christmas tree in the back, with an updated design. So that one I'm super excited for because I love that truck, and it's been a really popular template. And you can buy the template separately, or you can buy the template along with the class if you want to join for the live stream class with that one. Gabrielle says, what kind of shellac do I use? To preserve my cookies, I use epoxy resin. I get it on Amazon. It's called Art Resin. Although I think you can get any type of epoxy resin. You just have to make sure it's a 2-part epoxy resin. It comes with a resin and a hardener. You mix them together in equal parts in a disposable cup with disposable gloves on and like a disposable stir stick. You don't want to get that stuff on anything because it will not come off. And then I spread it over a cookie, and it takes about 24 hours to fully dry. But it's so worth it because, man, that stuff is durable. And also it doesn't yellow or anything. And it doesn't smudge the paint. It keeps everything like super pristine, super vibrant. Yeah, it's a little more on the expensive side. I think like 16 ounces of it is like $32, although maybe that's Canadian, so maybe it's a little bit better priced in the US. But yeah, little goes a long way, and it's super effective. Darlene says, I saw your 3D cookie truck earlier. Mitchie says, I saw the email. It looks cute. Tammy and, is it Namita? Namita, say thank you for such an amazing class. You're so welcome. I'm so glad you guys all signed up and tuned in, either live or in the future. I can't wait to see everyone's creations. Oh, I also add charcoal into my face wash, and it's amazing. Just like when I pump my face wash into my hands, I'll then sprinkle a little bit of charcoal into the face wash, mix it up, and it makes the skin glow. It's such a good, it's a great exfoliator. Wonderful for the skin. So you can go to bed tonight and do a little charcoal powder face mask, and it will just pull everything dirty out of your skin, and you'll be glowing. Okay guys, I'm gonna turn off the live stream now and grab myself some dinner because I'm starving. It might just be this cookie, maybe. Thank you so much for attending, and if you're following along to the live stream, like post-recording, and you have questions that weren't addressed in the live stream, like please feel free to either write them in the comments or reach out to me directly on Instagram DM or through Facebook Messenger, or if you want to post it in this group, that's fine, and I'll like try to answer the questions like as fast as I can. Have a good night, everyone. I can't wait to see all your cookies.